want to share in this video my view of the world and how we humans live as well as other living beings. It may be far-fetched, but to me, to get to know how things evolve, living beings, will be important so that we can see ourselves as a part of the nature's way. And of course, we have the mind and the brain to stretch out and challenge how much more and to achieve something that is beyond even our imagination. So having such spirit, I think, could be very interesting, but at the same time, we want to know the limit so that we don't go beyond what we can. Otherwise, we may be unbalanced and it may not be healthy for us, each of us, but also for the humans and the world. This is my personal view, and if you have some comment, feedback, I appreciate. The view I have is fairly simple, in my view. We are the biological being. The brain got developed on top of what we thought as just a living being, but as a part of the evolution, it was natural that it happened, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. So the nature's way is promoting us to use our brain, but if we do not use it wisely and lose the balance and going beyond our capability, but without knowing it, then it may not be good for us as well as for the environment. So I don't mean to confine or constrain, but how can we go beyond what we think is the way of future so that we have a balanced view of how to proceed? Especially like AI is stretching our imagination and ability. It is quite interesting what can be accomplished, but there's a possibility of what we are doing may trigger something we shouldn't. As we live, each of us, we may find that there's some limitation if we do stretch out too much, taking a risk. Or from our younger days, we certainly don't know what to do, so we play with fire or little toys until it breaks, or we stretch out to jump up from the cliff to see if we can, but we may break our leg bone. So from the experience of learning the pain, we learn how to find the balance. And that, in my view, is sound so that we can be happy in what we can, but knowing the limit and not to go beyond the capability that we can handle. For example, if the kids drive a car at the age 6 years old or something, it's possible. But if it's 3 years old, probably not so possible. So it all depends on how developed we are to use the tool. And if the tool is more than we can handle, it could be quite dangerous. Like a playing with fire. and realizing the fire get bigger and the house burned down and more. And it's painful, and the lesson can be quite painful when we see that happen. So pain is a good teacher, but when we take risks, we may not know the magnitude of the pain until we find we get stuck, or even sad cases, terminating a life, ourselves or others, like unintended consequence of what we have done. So learning from the history may help us. I use the term CAPD, check, act, plan, do. Check what's going on, figure out what to do, develop a plan and act on it, and then check again. And every time we make mistake, the learning can be exposed when we check, and therefore we can adjust the path. Not too much, but in a moderate, balanced fashion. So let me get into the specific image of what I have. I said our being is a biological being, and I tend to think of the tree growth as an analogy of how we may grow. I call it the tree of life or something like that. I may have mentioned already. So what it is that as we grow from the little seed and having a root, and then develop the stem and the branches and the leaves, we find a balance of how much branches and how many leaves, because if you have too much leaves when the sun is out, then we may not protect ourselves. So you have to have a balance always. And the branches may go this direction, that direction, but if you go to the wrong direction into the shade, it may not be as sufficiently absorbing whatever the light from the sun, so that we sub-optimize. Therefore, it's better not to go in that direction, but have other directions. But maybe not too much to the sun, if that is too dangerous. Same is true underneath. The root may have to find certain nutrition and the water, and through that process of exploring, they give a feedback so that you find the moderate, balanced way of growth and underneath. So if I see me or human construct, I see the mind is like a branches going in different direction. I may like this hobby, this work, this relationship, this health, and this hobby. Any of those different parameters you explore. So each branch has its own character and a mission. And as we spread out in each of the branch, we still need to control the balance so that the whole biological system of who we are have a balanced way. If it's moving in too much direction in certain oriented, activity, it may not have a balance to counterbalance, so that even that is a great idea. You may lose the balance, and therefore you cannot sustain the growth. So each element of the branches, leaves, and the stems, and to the root has a way to communicate each other, so that you find the optimal direction. And if there's a bottleneck in the whole system, you won't address that. If the water is not stopped up, or the nutrition is coming from the root. No matter how much desire and vision to go in this direction, that direction, this work, this hobby, this relationship may not be sustainable. Each individual needs to do that, and as a whole humanity, we have the connection with each other. So that's another level of relationship and the balanced act. So that in certain direction it goes too much without thinking of the other direction, it may lose the balance, therefore something can go wrong. So the process of this growth is the process of problem solving, and better we look at the whole system, more sustainable that we can do. But if we don't and make a mistake, it may stop our growth or even worse, cause more trouble. So all the failures, if we call it failures, the thing it's not working well, if we have the CAPD checklist plan to sustain the balance and we allocate the resources organically to move forward, that is needed. And if we are simply focusing on one to the other, like top down and go straight without considering the rest, this lack of synthesis would create not harmonious growth in the long run. It may be quite optimal just to do that, but not optimal if we don't look at the whole system. And the whole system is the connection to each of those elements, and they are to be processed. So that just like the branch of this direction need to give a feedback if it's dried out or sun is not there, so that not too much energy is going in that direction, but reallocating the energy into the right direction so that the whole life process can be maintained. In the organization, I use the word glass wall management, not the brick wall management. Brick wall, it's a silo, each independently managed, but the glass wall is to see each independent, but each independency is related to the customer-supplier relationship with each other, with other elements. As a whole, we need to have a balance. So that requires a deeper understanding of the whole system, and that's the direction for the growth, as well as sucking up all the nutrition. In this case, the input need to be searched in an area that fit you, so that it's not too wet in the sense of water content is too much, then the root may got rotten, or some other species may prevent you from the growth because it's suited for them but not as suited for you. So it's a balancing act, like a bird sitting on the electrical wire and keep on balancing. Living being need to do this keep on balancing act. And for that to happen, not just use the brain in the part of the brain and too occupied to it. It may be necessary if it's really important, it's a bottleneck for the growth, then it's meaningful. But if not, find what's needed for the resources to be allocated. And for that to happen, not the brick wall, but the glass wall idea that communication is made as if the lung and the heart and the kidney would help each other instead of each of them pushing their limit without considering others. So it's a biological process, synthesis, collecting the wisdom of all, understanding the whole system is a customer-supply relationship within, but also outside, where things are changing and we are to navigate our life. That requires intelligence. But if we realize it, we are here because of that intelligence. The nature's way have provided all the environment and for us to be who we are, where we are, how we live. And without all those actions taken in the past to be balanced, to promote the meaning of why we live and the resources that we acquire, the skills and DNAs that we acquire, took so much of the past failure and success and balancing and relating to the external world to see how fit we are and to prepare into the right direction. So this may sound like a too big a picture because everything is connected to each other. So how would we know? Mind may not know, but the nature has a way to figure out, and as a result, miraculously, we are here because of those force, wisdom, and compassion that happened and is happening right now. Happened in the past and happening right now for us to keep moving forward. So the bottom line of this whole characterization of biological linkage and not blocked by the silo and limited view, also mind and heart disconnected, but rather to have a synthetic, connective relationship to bring out the wisdom and compassion. That, I believe, the reason why we are here and will be into the future. So, what's the bottom line of it? I think it's the most important probably is the realization of our existence depending on all these factors and not be too self-centered to push the limit. Maybe it's natural, we may think, but there's a problem, just like one branch is going in the direction that they think is appropriate, but it may be taking all the resources that can be made available in the other area in a wise manner. Therefore, the whole system is going to triple and not balanced. And for that not to happen, all the cells, all individuals need to know and act upon how we came here to be who we are, and then going forward without each of us to be not too self-centered and have eyes to see through each one's limitation and going beyond the limitation with working together for us to be happy and for all living beings to be happy. Maybe I said too much, but I just wanted to share a view and for each to find the reason of our existence, helping each other, and find the path, one step at a time. CAPD, check that plan do, beyond the now sense of how we see the world, but be open with no self, no ego, and relating to the nature's way. Thank you.